Ian Lawson, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, fellows. Glad to be on.
Exacore, you guys are staying busy these days.
Yeah, we build mining sites now. We're a EPC, traditional EPC. We started up doing battery energy storage and solar, and we saw an opportunity in Bitcoin mining because you take the grid infrastructure for battery energy storage and you take the grid infrastructure for containerized mining and you overlay it, and it looks really darn similar. And turns out it is. So that's what we do.
Wait, did you come from the Bitcoin side, or did you come from the energy side first? Which came first?
Energy side.
Okay.
Energy side. So my background is actually a different kind of energy. I came from Ford Motor Company, electrified powertrain engineering. So not your normal grid, but something that affects the grid horribly, right? Electric cars. So I saw an opportunity to hop over, and I've been orange pilled for a while, and the rest is history. We pulled people from some different walks, right, of construction. We got our construction guys from Wallbridge. We've got estimating guys from Kiewit, myself from Ford, and we built a fun team. So yeah.
Well, it was probably a good time to exit Ford because I don't think the whole EV thing's working out very well for him.
No, it's not.
The lightnings are just sitting
on the wall.
Lightings are just sitting in lots, like nobody wants them. They're way overpriced.
I did see one the other day, and it looked like a regular F-150, except I could hear nothing out of it. But that was the first and only one I've seen in the wild.
You can't really tell unless you're looking for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which I think they should not have gone with the Lightning name. I think that ruins everything that Lightning was, especially being a car guy. But
well, I mean, they have a history of ruining names, like to avoid saying too much. The Mach-E, right?
Yeah.
They tried to take a Mustang, they fed it too much, made it fat, and put a battery in it.
But why not just come up with a new name? You're gonna try to.
Marketing department saw an opportunity to squeeze. It's a story as old as time, man. The purists don't have the control, right? The purist is out tinkering in his garage. He's not figuring out, okay, well, we took our focus group, and the focus group doesn't have the purist.
Yeah. So did you set out to be like an engineer, like an EV engineer specifically, or did you just kind of like fall into that at Ford?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I just fell into that. So I went through an interesting program for my engineering degree. It was a Kettering as the school, and you get your corporate sponsorship from a company. And my corporate sponsorship was Ford Motor Company. So that's where I worked after college for a little while. And like my family's been involved in aerospace and defense and all that jazz. So I'd always wanted things that go high and fly fast, and I just ended up with things that go fast and stay on the ground. And then I became orange pilled, slowly, then suddenly, right? I read a book in 2013 called Whatever Happened to the Penny Candy. And that's not an explicitly Bitcoin book, right? But it's a, hey, look at what fiat's done to the world type of book. So that opened my eyes. Oh, shoot, we're screwed. No. So from that time on, I was looking. And then in college, I had roommates get banned from their ISP for GPU mining, right? The heating the dorms, so to speak. And from then on, you start digging in, going, okay, so there's this thing called Bitcoin. What is the value proposition, and how is it different, right? I mean, I was the same idiot who's like, oh, it's not physical, I can't touch it, therefore it has no value, right? Yeah, color me silly, right? So years later, here I am.
I think we all wish we would have understood to the depth that we do now. Back then, I think I would have a lot more Bitcoin.
I don't think I'd be hanging out here right now, but yeah.
Justin wouldn't be friends with me if he had that much Bitcoin.
I wouldn't have any friends. I'd be on a beach somewhere chilling.
I hear that a lot. A lot of us would have ended up in El Salvador a lot faster.
All right, totally. I mean, I feel like I'm going to end up down there at some point anyway, so I would have just done it a lot sooner. But well, back to Exacore real quick. What side? Tell us about what you guys do. You act as the EPC. is there a specific size range projects you guys look at, or
Yeah,
where?
so we're in the typical, I don't want to say typical size range for Bitcoin mining, right? The sweet spot is that 20 to 50 megawatt range, as people will say over and over again. Different companies will say over and over again. We got quite a number of small, we'll say 5 to 10 sites, and we've got a couple of the over 100 megawatt range, right? And then from that business model, we naturally grew into a little bit of management. We manage about 67 megawatts right now for a client because we built a site and they said, hey, somebody's got to maintain what you plugged in. And it just naturally happened.
So do you actually manage the mining operation itself, or are you just managing the site infrastructure?
Mining operation, site infrastructure, full package. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, well,
which is becoming more popular.
Right, it is, and I think there's a need for that, right? Especially too. I've been talking to a bunch of oil and gas companies lately, and they are interested in mining. Gas prices suck, and a lot of them are looking for mining just to not even like a profitable mine. They just want to eat up the gas so that they can get their oil production online. Those folks, they don't know how to operate a mine. They don't really care about it. Like, they just want someone to come do it for them so they can get their oil to market. And that's where guys like you can step in and provide a service for them. Do you guys work with off-grid sites like natural gas sites and things like that? Or is it
we haven't done an off-grid site for gas yet. We've done some off-grid niche solar projects behind the meter, right? Our flagship is a behind the meter wind farm. Yeah, I mean, like you said, the gas operators, they're looking for a replacement for midstream. They're looking for a Bitcoin midstream.
Right.
They don't want to, like, your midstream operator, you're not out there counting the molecules.
Right.
You're not, I got to make sure my block template or my pool's right. No, you're just selling it to midstream, right? They wanted to sell to a Bitcoin midstream.
Well, yeah.
So,
what I think that, like, there are some that right now are looking at owning their equipment. But yeah, they are looking at it basically as a stand-in for midstream for whatever reason that they can't, get their product to market. But what's kind of your model on the operation side of things when you're operating for people? Are you charging like a per kilowatt hour fee?
Yeah, we have a fixed rate. We have to go to our ops and purchasing team if you want a good quote on that.
Yeah, well, yeah,
but
I'm just curious.
We have a relationship that gives us reoccurring revenue that works out for all parties,
right.
And we're happy and they're happy.
Do you are you providing people on site, right? And so, how do you regionally, like, are you focused regionally to, I don't know, West Texas, or is it kind of you find people wherever the site may be?
We'll find people wherever the site is. It's just wherever the site is tends to be West Texas,
right?
By maybe not the nature or rule, but the tendency, right? Everyone loves it. I mean, we have a smaller site in Wyoming with some ops, but everybody's in West Texas, guys. Like, why are you guys in Texas?
Yeah,
because that's where the parties happen.
Right. Yeah, I'm curious too, because I do have a lot of groups that I've talked to that are looking like in the South load zone, but they're struggling to find groups to come basically do operations for them. And so that's where I'm like, oh, if you guys have personnel out there, maybe it's something I can start arranging some visitations with you guys. Yeah.
We'll either send us an RFP, we'll either bid it or we'll no bid. Simple as that.
What do people not understand about, like, building sites?
Cost. Yeah. Everyone wants to say, okay, I got a $90,000 box. I'm gonna plug it in and it'll just work, right? But they forgot about your medium voltage. They forgot about your switch gear. You forgot about it. As they get bigger and bigger, right? People will start doing 1 megawatt, 2 megawatt, 10 megawatt, and they've never touched anything above medium voltage. And as soon as you touch that substation, it's an immediate, ching, $10 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
So costs that make sense for your home mining, right? You can make a model that says I have 5 S19s, extrapolate out to 5,000 S19s, and that doesn't extrapolate, right? Because you need more infrastructure. You can't just use a rack from Menards. You have to use a little more containment. Okay, now you have a container. Now you have multiple racks from Menards. Okay, so then now you need panels, PDUs, or something along those lines to deliver power. Okay, now you have multiple panels and PDUs. Now I need disconnects. Okay, then from your disconnects to your transformer, from your transformer to whatever your line voltage is. Building that picture out is forgotten all the time. We've had clients come say, hey, we'd like you to submit a bid on this. Hey, is it going to be about this number? And there's no transformer.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, okay, but that's a $70,000 item right there that you forgot. That does change your calculus per megawatt.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm too brutal, but it's true.
Well, okay, so when you are evaluating a site, if you're doing one that's 5 megawatts here, 10 megawatts there, I mean, what kind of criteria are you guys looking for? Like, what's your average megawatt per megawatt cost? Can you tell it from a greenfield site that, they're tying into some substation that's going to drop a pole? What would your average cost for a build out be?
Without knowing a ton about what the earth moving requirements would be for this said greenfield, a safe bet is to say about maybe $490K a megawatt. Now, that is a true everything, right? That's assuming some ratio of an O&M building. That's assuming you had to do a little bit of earthwork. Maybe you had to do a little bit of erosion protection. You had to put a fence around a certain number of acres. Everyone likes to say either a hard number or it depends, and the answer is somewhere in between, right?
Yeah,
you can say, okay, maybe it's already fenced in site. Maybe we don't care about erosion protection, right? If they're building the site in New York, now you got to address the migratory patterns of bats or something. Versus in Texas, just slap it down and run it. Yeah.
Are you seeing a lot of? And sorry for my rapid fire questions here, but
no, man, let's do it.
Well, are you seeing a lot of? Because like early on, we'd see mainly container style builds. At least that was my experience. I'm seeing more people buying sites now that have like structures on them. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to use those structures for mining operations right off the bat. But are you seeing a shift in people wanting to go more container style still, or moving or shifting to existing buildings that they retrofit? Has there been
or also, I guess the third option, if you didn't mean this, building a new building.
Or building a new building, right? Yeah. Has there been any type of shift, or is it really just kind of a coin flip when you get a new client?
Well, okay, so we'll add a caveat about the type of client, right? So a large client will not to say we work with CleanSpark, but say a CleanSpark, for example, right? They're moving toward a very large building architecture, whereas a smaller client is almost always sticking with containers. And there's reasons for that, right? If you're in the hundreds of megawatts, you're extremely invested in that location, right? You spent the money on the substation. You spent the money on your O&M building for your maintenance. You spent the effort on human capital, hiring people, building relationships with the community, running the fair, whatever, right? Buying the 4-H sheep, right? So you're really invested there, and you can confidently make the investment decision to pour a cement slab, throw a building on top of it, make something that's very permanent. On the other hand, you have your, we'll say, sub 10, right? Where there's not a ton of permanence. There's probably not a lot of community investment. The person who's doing the mining if it's not their primary business, it's pretty darn close. And they can't afford to be tied to one spot. So then containers become the way to go, or an existing building because it's cheap. I think I answered that.
Yeah, no, you did. You did. And I've been curious because like I've looked at. In fact, I just got back from West Texas and looked at several sites, and all of them had a building on them that was in. I I've
Chicken
Mixed
shack?
repair.
yeah, some of them are like just complete shitholes that I'm like, man. I went to one, there was like cages in it, and I'm like, I don't even know what's been going on in here. This place is freaking creepy. And then some are really nice buildings that I'm like, wow, you could easily retrofit this, but I don't have a good barometer yet on like what it's going to cost to rehab a place. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious to see if there's been more of that because it just seems like a lot of the sites I'm looking at right now tend to like for future development tend to have some type of building structure on them that if I had a better idea on costs associated with rehabbing a building or rewiring or whatever requirements might be there from the city or county, I'd have a better gauge of what the cost is. But I was just kind of curious to see if people are shifting their focus to a more permanent style where you're going to have a nice little office so you can have your Bitcoin mine out back.
Yeah, no, I mean, if somebody's listening who has a piece of land and they're moving toward mining and they have a building on it, yeah, use the building for O&M, and then probably should use containers for
What's O&M?
Actual operations and maintenance.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So use that for your people and make something nice, right? Because Bitcoin rightly gets kind of a bad rap for putting their maintenance teams through hell. Make something nice for your people to live in.
Like a toilet
right?
would be great.
Yeah, a toilet would be great.
I have
right?
found out so much more about toilets over the last like 6 months in regards to sites. It's really an important deal, and it can be kind of costly. I was shocked.
Oh yeah, especially in the middle of nowhere, right? You're gonna make a vault. Like let's figure this out.
I figured you'd just give them a shovel and a bucket, and that'd be enough. But no, that doesn't work with the city, I guess.
For the first couple days they have the shovel, so they dig the trench anyway. Yeah. No, I mean that's a huge opportunity to be a leader, right? For the longest time, this industry has been, and this is not like pointing fingers. I mean, I've been here too, right? You were putting sites together with duct tape and zip ties, and that is cheap up front and costly long term, right? And if we're going to be intellectually honest as Bitcoiners and say we have a low time preference, then we need to build it right, and then build it right for people. So that means having high standards of safety, high standards of manufacture. It doesn't mean expensive. It means high standards, and working together. And that's a huge opportunity, right? Anyone else who's building sites, like let's collaborate on that. Right? There's plenty of safety. We say we're early in the industry, but there's plenty of safety for all of us to collaborate on. So if anyone wants to do a joint industry safety operation, let's do it. Let's make Bitcoin mining have a fantastic reputation.
Are these larger buildings typically air conditioned?
I don't know
if they're housing miners.
No.
Yeah, I would
it's just you're lucky if there's fans.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, that would be a very expensive
the AC burn AC bill. Fast, right? Yeah. They'd be working overtime. But I mean, what is kind of? Have you seen any kind of new creative styles of like ventilation, and are people kind of getting more creative, or is it pretty cookie cutter build out that you've seen with what people are asking y'all to do?
It's very cookie cutter. There's a lot of claims to fame about I've made this unique thing. My container's different. To a lesser degree, my tank for immersion is different. There's very little true uniqueness as far as your build out. Because at the end of the day, you're just trying to reduce the thermal resistance. Air cooled, you're trying to shove as much air, as much CFM that's really reasonably clean across every miner as you can. And then immersion, you're just trying to get the lowest thermal resistance from your chip to your dry cooler or to your whatever your medium is for heat rejection. And there's different ways you can do that, right? You can have single loop, dual loop. For immersion, you can have, if you're using hydro, you can have like a cooling tower that's spraying a mist, and you have to use makeup water, so you're evaporative cooling. Whichever way you go, there's pretty standard paths to get there, right? And you're borrowing from other industries, right? You're borrowing from anything from evaporative coolers, or you're pulling from greenhouses to your normal HVAC and heating and cooling.
Are you seeing a certain type of cooling becoming more popular over time?
Immersion has gone from being a redheaded, expensive stepchild to being something that is recognized that you need in the future, right? It allows you to have much better density, but much lower OpEx. Your maintenance is, again, what is into OpEx is much more simplified. But the part where it struggles is your CapEx, right? You're spending much higher per megawatt to get started. But once you're started, we had a smaller client, I believe around 7 megawatts, and they've been running lights out for something like 6 months. And like lights out is in nobody's home. That's insane. Nobody does that in mining, hardly.
You mean so like nobody's had to touch anything? Nobody's had to touch anything.
It's just hashing. It's just working.
Okay.
Now, does that happen for everyone? No, not at all. But that's possible.
So
that's the dream.
Okay, that's interesting. How much more on the CapEx side is it?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it used to be like $700K a megawatt.
Because your trade-off is, because we went from talking about, okay, we need to build a facility to have maintenance people there all the time. So I'm trying to think about like, what does that cost versus the additional CapEx cost?
Yeah, so it looks very similar to that 700K you mentioned, right? You have all the same things electrically that you need for air-cooled, plus you have pumps, right? Because a lot of air cooling, you have fans already. The dry cooler has fans for your immersion, but you're adding the pumps to circulate the dielectric, and if it's a 2-loop solution, your water glycol. Other than that, you're pretty darn close. You're going to definitely have more upfront cost, and you're right. It hits 690, 700K is pretty industry standard.
It's still coming in around there? Yeah.
Okay. And that's per megawatt?
Even with inflation, it's still 700K.
Okay. So then it's came down a little bit if you're factoring.
Exactly.
Yeah. So okay. And that's fluid and everything.
Yep, that'd be everything.
See, that was how much was that again?
Around 700K.
700K per megawatt?
Yeah.
Okay. What are you able to say what kind of miners those were that were lights out for 6 months?
No comment.
No.
Are you?
I'm gonna assume
are you able to say what miners you'd use if you were running an immersion site?
That's a lawyer right there for you.
Shoot! Now you're trying to split me between okay. I like MicroBT. I'll just say that our operations and maintenance teams loves MicroBT. Going forward, I'm curious to run Ardyne more and find out.
Have you had any experience with them?
No comment. No, I haven't yet.
Okay, because we had Rajiv on. I don't think we dropped the episode yet.
We're planning. Yeah, I watched that episode. Yeah, it was a good one.
Oh, did we release that?
We did.
Oh, we did. Okay.
Yeah. I do know a guy running some immersion Ardyne, and they love them. I think they're the best in the market.
Are you seeing a rise in hydro at all, or no?
I'm seeing a rise in talking about hydro. I'm not seeing a rise in actually doing hydro.
Oh, really?
Why do you think that is?
I think I know. Bitmain gave people a bad taste in their mouth from their hydro having hose issues.
Mm-hmm.
If you ruin the technology for people, they don't want to touch it.
Yeah.
Right.
Though.
Yeah, it's an opportunity.
Well, and I would say too, there's been, the initial iteration of most models at least, and this is just my opinion, from Bitmain, they have seemed to have issues with the first iteration or even just the first batch of.
They just launched too soon.
Yeah,
QAQC.
and then a lot of the problems that you have early on, they'll work through them, and second iteration or later batches are improved. But it seems like the micro BT stuff, consistently people seem to be happier with some of the micro BT equipment, at least from the discussions I feel like that we have. Aerodyne has been
I see more and more people. I see, honestly, that's not a big fair. This is just facts. Bitmain, if you're watching, sorry.
Yeah,
I see more people running micro BTs and Aerodynes over time.
I do too.
Just from private conversations.
And especially in Texas.
Especially in Texas.
The heat issues. There's been it was a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, when I can't remember who it was, but they did kind of a look back and a study on S19s in West Texas heat, and they just did not perform as well. And that was, I'm not saying it was like a peer-reviewed study or some scientific method, study done, but it was enough to convince a lot of people that run those Bitmains in the rough climates is just not the greatest machine for those areas.
You don't need a peer review study. I mean, you can talk to basically anybody and be like, yeah, it's peer reviewed.
Just call up Gideon Powell or Brad Cuddy. Right. They're running like all of these experiments.
Yeah, I love that they are doing that because it is such a valuable thing.
They're like the sacrificial lamb for Bitcoin miners.
Yeah.
I love that.
It needs to be done. There needs to be more sacrificial lambs. There needs to be more open testing, right? Because we all benefit.
I would just prefer it be other people that are sacrificial lambs than me. And I think everybody's kind of got that same attitude. They're like, well, I believe there needs to be more
industry standard.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is
That's why you want me to test the Aerodynes. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. One of my favorite questions is what is nobody talking about?
Nobody's talking about the upcoming scramble for power, right? Everybody's digging around, doing whatever, securing some sites, but we're going to and we are seeing an arms race for power, right? And as cool as Bitcoin is, the power locked up by Bitcoin miners may be as big of a profit center as the Bitcoin they're mining, or the same value, right? I've been mining Bitcoin for X number of years, but the power I locked up, if I were to sell it to the Google or whoever, right, may prove to be of equal value, if summed up.
That's proven. We literally just talked about that with Phil Stanley. Right. We just recorded with him, and then Fred Thiel, if you all saw him in Empower, and the keynote that he was given was like, it's Bitcoin miners are almost like going to be forced off grid or into the far reaches of where you can find power because it's going to become so competitive with the AI players coming in that are extremely well capitalized, the Amazons, the Metas, all of these companies, and coming in and paying whatever they want and overpaying for power.
I agree that is everything you said is true. I would say we at Adicon, that is our whole thesis, is we have locked in power contracts with a fixed rate that is very competitive today, and it's a 20-year PPA.
20-year PPA.
20-year PPA. And that's because, so I think, right
that's
now.
That's a baller option.
Right.
Yes.
Right. We get people being like, you're a little high. And I'm like, if you come in and you lock up a 20-year PPA.
The flat rate?
Yes. Flat rate, locked in. You don't have TDSP. You don't have all these transportation charges. Damn. The value of having that PPA 5 years from now is going to be obscene, in my opinion. Like,
you might own the power company.
Well, they're very creative too. They are very sharp, and they recognize, what's probably coming down the line. And I think that, I completely agree. I think the power game is the key here. And you can always go buy more miners, but you don't have rack space. And like Joe Dillon, at Adicon, we're long rack space because that means we got the power. And that, to me, is the biggest key to being profitable in the future. So lock up power as cheap as you can right now, because I don't think 2, 3, 4 years from now we're going to be anywhere close to the same environment we're in right now. I think it's going to be substantially higher. 30% higher is a big number.
Easily.
Yeah. So
another thing that confounds this even further is that the Googles, the Amazons, the OpenAIs have something that Bitcoin mining doesn't. In not only can they pay more for power, but they control the search engines, they control the media, and when you ask OpenAI questions, what are they going to say? Right? They're going to advocate for themselves. Bitcoin miners have to advocate for themselves. We don't control where we sit on Google. Right? We can use our own search engine. We can use your AI search engine that you guys launched, right? Collide.
Go check out Collide.
I get a little plug.
Yeah, there you go. We're not even paying you. That's crazy. There you go.
But we have that we're going against, right? They can pay more than us. They can control the narrative, and we just have this thing called Bitcoin. All right. Well, I like that. Let's go fight.
Yeah, I like it. But you're telling me that, like, when I ask AI something, they're going to spout out like some agenda-laced answer? Really?
Yeah, I mean, just go ask ChatGPT about Sam Altman's sister. Yeah, see how that works out for you.
Okay, I don't know where this is going, but I'm going to do that when I get home.
Yeah, I'm going to cut myself off right there. I'm just saying you're going to get funny answers.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to definitely do it. That's interesting. I haven't heard about this, but now I'm like really curious. I want to do it right now.
I mean, when you think about it, you think about everything that's happening in, San Francisco, and Elon Musk has been extremely vocal about this. And it's like the same people who have the same ideologies that have completely ruined not only that city, but pretty much the entire state, are also the ones who are engineering your AI.
Oh, right.
Which is what his main concerns are, is that it's people who don't have potentially the right ideological compass are the ones who are building the world's most powerful AI, and the fate of humanity rest in their hands. Well, look how it's worked out for places like San Francisco.
I agree, and I think it's really weird right here talking about the AI God aspect.
We don't even have our
stuff,
tinfoil hats.
Yeah, hey, don't worry. I'll get a tinfoil hat. No, I mean, if we're gonna go down that route, I mean, this goes back to the concept of fiat everything, right? So we like to talk about fiat money. We like to talk about, on the other side, high standards. But what does fiat create, right? Fiat money creates a fiat world, right? Because as money becomes less and less valuable, you make substitutions. When you make substitutions, you also make character substitutions, right? So if you're a guy, and let's say I saw this example a while ago, but basically you're a wine grower, or you have your vineyard and you make wine. The value of whatever your wine is denominated in starts to go down, right? You have a couple options. You can take the high road and you can raise your prices. Now, your customers aren't going to like that, but you haven't adulterated your wine. Or you can compete with your competitors who cut the wine to keep the same price. And over time, everything becomes cut. Everything is fake, right? Fiat money makes a fiat world. I mean, like that goes into everything, right? I mean, you can blame seed oils in everything on fiat if you go down that rabbit hole, right?
It has with everything. I mean, food is a great analogy of this. I mean, you start to you have to make it cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and so and now we're all obese, all of us, the whole country. Yeah. But don't worry, you can take Ozempic.
Yes, well, it's another business avenue. And what is Ozempic? It's fake fitness. It's fiat fitness, right? So, to not sound schizophrenic, right, and be like, oh, it's all turn the frogs gay, but it is, right? It is.
I haven't heard that in so long.
Yeah.
Oh, it's always funny. Gay ass frogs.
And here we are.
Yeah, right. Here we are.
That's so funny.
Yeah, no, I feel like our whole world is fake right now. So, I mean, I couldn't argue with you at all. But to steer it back to Bitcoin a little bit, I like all this, but you know how much I enjoy it. So, But what is your guys' goal going forward? Are you guys doing any self mining, or are you just EPC only kind of company, or are you getting involved in the actual mining yourselves?
So we don't have any Bitcoin on our balance sheet right now, right? We're just exposed to Bitcoin as a company through building mining sites. I think I know that will change as right. It becomes more attractive for all companies to have Bitcoin on their balance sheet, right? The Sailorification of all companies is something that will happen, and naturally will happen to those.
It is happening. It's happening way slower than I thought it would, but it is happening.
Yeah. I think things are going to speed up, though. I do, because the ETF changes the narrative a lot. It raises the floor, in my opinion. I know it can speed up a decline too, in a way, but I think realistically, the most likely avenue is that it shores up a floor on Bitcoin price, and it legitimizes the asset for people on the fence. So I think we're probably going to see it pick up and speed up, and when we do really go on a big rip, like I think we got coming up over the next 18 months, I think we could see a big shift really quickly. I also think you're going to see a lot of nations shift really, really fast. I don't think it's going to be, El Salvador being one of the only ones out there accepting Bitcoin as legal tender. I could see maybe they're not accepting as legal tender all over the place, but a lot more of an emphasis on having Bitcoin in your reserves as a nation. I really do see that coming over the next 18 to 24 months.
Well, here's the thing. Unlike public companies, nations aren't required by anyone to tell you what their reserves are.
Right.
We don't know how many sovereign wealth funds have been mining and stacking sats, right? We have no idea. We have no idea, if the power draw in Area 51 is mining Bitcoin.
Right.
I mean, maybe you'd be able to deduce that based on hash rate, but would you? I don't know.
If you're going to mine, why would you do it in all places of Area 51 and to feed into the conspiracies?
I don't know.
Well,
why not?
Because I think they want to create confusion. Like, the government's putting out all this UFO stuff too, right? And it's all part of their plan to just create confusion and chaos and have people divided and talking about stuff other than what they do, other than the freaking fiat.
It's misdirection, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, look over there, right? What does a magician do? They hold up one hand and they do something else while you're looking over here.
Right. Totally agree, man. No, I do still think there's a bunch of aliens going around all over the place, but
and we didn't go to the moon.
Yeah. Jake's sold on that.
Honestly, if you have faster than light capability, you have a lot of power that could make some serious hash rate. I'll just throw that out there. So if there's any aliens listening and they have, star drives, hit me up. I'd take the low cost of power.
I wonder who's going to be the first one to mine in space.
Oh, be cool.
Think about, is there any sort of efficiency gains by having,
I don't know, it'd just be dope.
Like lower gravity or the physics on a different planet?
No idea. No,
heat rejection becomes really hard in space because you don't have a good medium to get rid of it, right? It has to be,
the engineer here.
I know, I haven't thought about this.
Straight radiative heat, right? You have to radiate the heat away. There's no convection, right? Because there's nothing in space.
And to think about that.
But the big enough radiator,
it'd work.
Yeah, I mean, you have to keep your crews warm on missions anyway. If we want to go like super Elon Musk, right? Maybe we keep our crews warm on our mission by Bitcoin mining, right?
Or how are you going to power jacuzzis on Mars?
How are we going to do that?
Or heat them up?
The real question is, what do we do with stale blocks, right? Because we're so far away.
Man, you've actually been thinking about this.
He came prepared to this conversation.
Yeah,
he's like, you idiots, you don't know anything.
Oh, man. Well, shoot.
No, we need to follow up with SpaceX, right? The Starlink Bitcoin mining podcast.
Yeah, we got to figure out how to get through the Van Allen radiation belts first.
Man, Jake, when he listened to that Rogan podcast with the what was the guy's name?
Oh, I don't remember his name.
Brett
now.
Something. I don't remember, but he called me that night. He's like, dude, we did not land on the moon.
His last name's Siebel. Sibel. I don't remember what his first name is.
I don't think I've heard that one. I've probably seen clips though.
It's so good.
Fill me in.
It's so good. He's like the world's foremost leading voice on, hey, we didn't go to the moon. And he's got all of this like proof, and it's all on his website, siebel.com. Go check it out. And he's actually a Hollywood producer, and he was like in love with NASA and all this kind of stuff. And I guess whenever he saw some of this stuff, he was just like, oh no, that's exactly how if I was going to fake it, this is exactly how I'd fake it. They have this whole thesis. They talk for like 3 hours on the Joe Rogan podcast. It just makes sense. If in the event that they did, it would be a anomaly in
that's fair.
In technology, in space travel. You look at how many times some of the Discovery missions have blown up, and so for everything to go off without a hitch in the most craziest thing in the 1960s is wild. And it's like absolutely wild. And he brings up a lot of really good points. I don't want to spoil it for you, but I'd suggest anybody to look at that. Yeah, and the number one thing, the reason I've always thought this, and the reason I guess I kind of continue to be down this rabbit hole is that why haven't we gone back? In the modern era, we have all this technology and stuff. Why haven't we gone back?
That might be a fiat question there for you, right?
It could be.
I mean, we've spent like 50 Marshall Plans on Africa. We've inflated our currency out the wazoo. So even if we did, I mean, this is a whole nother discussion, the whole moon landing thing. But even if we did, like we have no concept of how poor we are today by comparison. I don't know. I mean, completely derailed. But one easy way, and allegedly they left mirrors on the moon. So theoretically, you could get a high-powered laser, so over like a watt or something, and ping it off a mirror, and then you'd know for yourself if they did or not.
Really?
Maybe that's the next Digital Wildcatters project.
Yeah.
Did we really land on the moon?
Well, in the Van Allen radiation belts, these radiation belts are like, okay, you know when you get an X-ray, right? You have to wear like the lead vest. So imagine going through that X-ray 100 times more powerful than that for an hour and a half. You'd be fried.
To be like
every single person who went to the moon would have cancer and would have died from radiation. Every single person.
The way I look at it is,
and the technology has not been created for us to be able to go through that.
Well, the way I look at it is,
mic drop.
Would the government lie to us about something like that at the time that
yes.
all was going on?
Did the government kill
Absolutely.
Kennedy? Yes.
Well, I do think that.
Even JFK Jr.
Yeah.
Or RFK.
RFK Jr.
Yeah, RFK.
Yeah, no, I do. I'm no doubt. I'm on board with the JFK stuff. I don't know on the moon landing. It wouldn't surprise me.
It's the kind of thing where it falls into the does it change my worldview? Not really, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do I meaningfully benefit from this or not benefit? Like, I could spend a couple $1,000s and verify for myself if there's a mirror on the moon, but I don't know. I mean, maybe it's worth it to me. I don't know.
Depends.
Anyway.
Depends how good Bitcoin does over the next 5 years. Then I'll decide if I want to sink some money into a big old laser. That light up there, mirror? Yeah.
All right, we can talk conspiracies all day. Ian, it's been awesome having you.
Cool. I'm glad that I came on. I'm glad to talk about all things Bitcoin and lasers and JFK and pop that hash rate up, fellas.
Yeah. Let's do it, man. Let's do it. We'll catch you soon.